Federal prosecutors endorsed plans to allow two former Sam Bankman-Fried lieutenants, Gary Wang and Caroline Ellison, to post bail after both pleaded guilty to supporting a multi-billion-dollar fraud allegedly perpetrated by former FTX CEO Bankman-Fried, court documents show. Gary Wang was the chief technology officer of FTX. Caroline Ellison was the co-CEO of Alameda Research, Bankman-Fried's cryptocurrency trading firm. Wang and Ellison would be required to post $250,000 in bail each, surrender their passports, and restrict their travel to the continental United States. In return, the pair conceded their role in supporting an $8 billion fraud that left millions of customers without their investments and destabilized the crypto industry. Prosecutors won't object to the bail conditions, but it's unclear whether a judge will approve them. Attorneys for Ellison and Wang did not immediately respond to requests for comment. In an earlier statement, Wang's attorney Elon Graf, a partner at Fried, Frank, Harris, Shriver and Jacobson, said Gary has accepted responsibility for his actions and takes seriously his obligations as a cooperating witness. In addition to admitting their complicity in the collapse of FTX, Wang and Ellison signed consent orders with the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, a civil concession that Bankman-Fried has yet to make. Wang and Ellison also both settled separately with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Wang, 29, and Ellison, 28, both pleaded guilty to fraud charges stemming from their leadership positions at FTX and Alameda, respectively. They signed their deals in the Manhattan U.S. Attorney's Office on Monday. Whether Bankman-Fried, 30, has made a plea deal has not yet been disclosed. In a pre-recorded statement Wednesday night, U.S. Attorney Damian Williams said the indicted former FTX CEO had been taken into FBI custody after a chaotic Bahamas extradition process. Bankman-Fried will appear before a judge Thursday. FTX's collapse was precipitated when reporting by CoinDesk revealed a highly concentrated position in self-issued FTT coins, which Bankman-Fried's hedge fund Alameda Research used as collateral for billions in crypto loans. Binance, a rival exchange, announced it would sell its stake in FTT, spurring a massive withdrawal in funds. The company froze assets and declared bankruptcy days later. Charges from the SEC and CFTC indicated that FTX had commingled customer funds with Alameda Research and that billions in customer deposits had been lost along the way.
Arizona to remove makeshift border wall as part of a lawsuit, court filing says. Arizona agreed to remove shipping containers placed as a makeshift wall along its shared border with Mexico as part of an ongoing lawsuit, according to a Wednesday court filing. Arizona has had enough, he said at the time. We can't wait any longer. The 8,800-pound, 9 by 40 feet containers stand about 22 feet tall when stacked, welded together and topped with 4 feet of razor wire, the governor's office said, while border fencing built during the Trump administration is about 30 feet high. The federal government has been battling with the state ever since to get the containers removed. Earlier this month, the Biden administration sued Arizona for placing shipping containers at the border. Since then, the federal government and Arizona reached an agreement to dismantle the containers, according to the latest filing. By January 4, 2023, to the extent feasible and so as not to cause damage to United States lands, properties, and natural resources, Arizona will remove all previously installed shipping containers and associated equipment, materials, vehicles, and other objects from the United States properties in the U.S. Border Patrol UMA sector, including from lands over which the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation holds an easement on the Cocopa Indian Tribe's West Reservation, the filing says. CNN has reached out to Ducey's office for comment. Shortly after the project began, 2 shipping containers toppled. A Univision reporter who shared photos of the fallen containers said contractors in the area had told her strong winds were to blame. Ducey's office said they suspected foul play. Since then, no similar incidents have been reported, spokesperson CJ Karamarjan said. Astronauts embark on spacewalk after space debris triggered one-day delay. The International Space Station is set to receive its second solar power boost in a month during a spacewalk on Thursday. The event comes after a piece of wayward space garbage interfered with plans to carry out the spacewalk Wednesday. NASA was forced to implement a 24-hour delay so that the space station could fire up its thrusters to move out of the way of the debris, which was identified as a fragment of an old Russian rocket. Near collisions in space are common, as low Earth orbit, the area in which the ISS orbits, is becoming increasingly congested with satellites and space junk. The crew is not in any immediate danger, NASA noted in a blog post Wednesday. The spacewalk kicked off Thursday around 8:30 a.m. ET and is expected to last for about 7 hours. Live coverage began at 7 a.m. NASA astronauts Josh Cassata and Frank Rubio are working to install a solar array outside the floating laboratory. Rubio is serving as extravehicular crew member 1 and is wearing a suit with red stripes, while Cassata is wearing an unmarked white suit as extravehicular crew member 2. Thursday's spacewalk is one of many intended to install rollout solar arrays, called IROSAs, to increase electrical power on the space station. The first 2 rollout solar arrays were installed outside the station in June 2021. The plan is to add 6 IROSAs, which will likely boost the space station's power generation by more than 30% once all are operational. 2 more arrays were delivered to the space station on November 27 aboard the 26th SpaceX Dragon commercial resupply mission, which also carried dwarf tomato seeds and other experiments to the orbiting laboratory. Rolled up like carpet, the arrays weigh 750 pounds each and are 10 feet wide. Cassata and Rubio already installed one outside the space station during a spacewalk on December 3. During Thursday's spacewalk, the 2 will install a solar array to increase capacity in one of the space station's 8 power channels, located on its port truss. Once the array is unfurled and bolted into place, it will be about 63 feet long and 20 feet wide. The original solar arrays on the space station are still functioning. But they have been supplying power for more than 20 years and are showing signs of wear after long-term exposure to the space environment. The arrays were originally designed to last 15 years. Erosion can be caused by thruster plumes, which come from both the station's thrusters and those of the crew and cargo vehicles that come and go from the station, as well as micrometeorite debris. The new solar arrays are being placed in front of the original ones. It's a good test because equipment using this same design will power parts of the planned Gateway lunar outpost, which will help humans return to the Moon through NASA's Artemis program. The new arrays will have a similar 15-year life expectancy. However, since the degradation on the original arrays was expected to be worse, the team will monitor the new ones to test their longevity because they may last longer. While U.S. spacewalks continue, Russian ones conducted by cosmonauts aboard the space station are on hold following the discovery of a coolant leak from the Soyuz MS-22 spacecraft, which is docked to the Russian segment of the space station. The leak was found December 14 ahead of a planned Roscosmos spacewalk, when liquid began spewing out from the Soyuz. The external radiator cooling loop of the Soyuz is the suspected leak source, according to a December 15 update from NASA. While the space station crew remains safe, investigation of the leak is ongoing. NASA is expected to give an update on the issue on Thursday at 11 a.m. The Soyuz MS-22 ferried NASA's Rubio and 2 Russian cosmonauts to the space station on September 21 and is scheduled to bring them back to Earth in March.
Exclusive. U.S. says Russia's Wagner Group bought North Korean weapons for Ukraine war. Wagner is searching around the world for arms suppliers to support its military operations in Ukraine, John Kirby, spokesperson for the White House National Security Council, told reporters. "We can confirm that North Korea has completed an initial arms delivery to Wagner, which paid for that equipment." Last month, North Korea delivered infantry rockets and missiles into Russia for use by Wagner, Kirby said. The news was first reported by Reuters. The Wagner Group was founded in 2014 after Russia seized and annexed Ukraine's Crimea Peninsula and sparked a separatist insurgency in Ukraine's eastern Donbas region. The United States estimates that Wagner has 50,000 personnel deployed in Ukraine, including 10,000 contractors and 40,000 convicts recruited from Russian prisons, Kirby said. The U.S. assessment is that the amount of material delivered by North Korea will not change the battlefield dynamics in Ukraine. But more military equipment was expected to be delivered by Pyongyang. In November, after the White House said Pyongyang was covertly supplying Russia with a significant number of artillery shells, North Korea said it had never had arms dealings with Russia and has no plans to do so. The Russian and North Korean missions to the United Nations in New York did not immediately respond to a request for comment on Thursday's news. The United States accused Pyongyang and Moscow of violating UN sanctions on North Korea and will share its information with the UN Security Council's North Korea Sanctions Committee, U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, said in a statement. Pyongyang has built ballistic missiles capable of striking almost anywhere on Earth, weapons experts say, as well as shorter-range weapons. Kirby said Russian President Vladimir Putin has increasingly turned to the Wagner Group, owned by Putin's ally Yevgeny Prigozhin, for help in Ukraine, where Russian forces have stumbled in their bid to topple the Kyiv government. The European Union has imposed sanctions on the Wagner Group, accusing it of clandestine operations on the Kremlin's behalf. Putin has said the group does not represent the Russian state, but that private military contractors have the right to work anywhere in the world as long as they do not break Russian law. The Biden administration on Wednesday unveiled new curbs on technology exports to the Wagner Group in a bid to further choke off its supplies. More sanctions are coming in the weeks ahead against the company and its support group in countries around the world, Kirby said. Russian businessman Prigozhin is spending more than $100 million per month to fund Wagner's operations in Ukraine, but has encountered problems recruiting Russians to fight there, Kirby said. The Wagner Group, staffed by veterans of the Russian armed forces, has fought in Libya, Syria, the Central African Republic and Mali, among other countries. U.S. intelligence indicates that Wagner has played a major role in the battle for the Ukrainian city of Bakhmut and has suffered heavy casualties there, with about 1,000 Wagner fighters killed in recent weeks, most of them convicts, Kirby said. Inside Russia, Prigozhin's influence is expanding, and his group's independence from the Russian Defense Ministry has only increased and elevated over the course of the 10 months of this war, Kirby said, without providing evidence. Kirby said that in some instances, Russian military officials in Ukraine were subordinate to Wagner forces. In addition, Prigozhin has criticized Russian generals and defense officials for their performance since the invasion.